Hello and welcome to BoxCast, presented to you by Wanting Youth Zone. My name's Dillon, joined here today with Brady
Hello.
and Ben.
Hello.
The market.
So how's everyone doing today?
Good. Good.
Yeah, I'm alright.
Been up to it?
No, I've been on a bike ride. It's alright.
Drank 20 raw eggs again, have you?
Nah, not yet. After that one, I kind of stopped because the toilet wasn't the best.
But why don't you tell everyone about yourself a bit then, Ben? Because
Well,
first time you've been on.
I go to the gym. That's just me. And then started going to the gym like a year and a half ago in the youth zone, and then came up to the boxing one time, and then I had a passion for boxing, and yeah, just kind of started it a little bit, but kind of on and off with it. So need to get back into it, don't I?
Yeah, you've come in a few times, since.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause you had a massive streak of coming for ages.
I know.
You stopped coming, came in, stopped coming, came in.
I know.
Also robbed a pair of MMA gloves.
No one ever wrote. Jack gave him me.
Jack gave them you?
Yeah,
Well,
he
yeah,
said
he
he
did.
said he said he didn't like him.
Oh, he told me that they went missing and that you took them.
Nah.
So today we're covering promoters and how that affects the sport of boxing. So things like Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, and how fighters themselves promote themselves, really. How it's affected the sport, things like that. So I'll start off with asking everyone. Hold on. What's your opinion on promoters and promotions and how it affects the sport of boxing? Starting with you, Brady.
Well, I think first of all, they've got to try and make the fights that everybody wants to see, and a few of them aren't doing that. But there's one, I don't know his name, but he's from Saudi Arabia, and he's trying to make all the fights that people want to see.
Turkey Al Sheikh.
Yeah, I don't know anything about promoters.
Yeah, I can tell.
Yep.
And you, Ben?
Well, I think it all comes from the audience. I think it's what the audience wants, and if the promoters listen to the audience, well then they're gonna get good money and a good fight.
I personally think they changed a lot over time, because it used to be just a few different promoters that people would go to, and you got all the big fights and whatnot, because fights didn't have as much of a say because the money wasn't used the same way and promotions weren't used the same way. So you ended up getting fight after fight after fight of big fights. Whereas nowadays some fighters are stemming off making their own promotions, and then you've also got the main promoters, and you've got loads of different ones now. And I think with how many there are, it becomes a lot harder to make the big fights because fighters are under different promotions, and you can't match them up without them agreeing on a price and money and whatnot. It has been good in ways though, because fighters are using social media to their advantage now, and they're getting a lot more money out of it. That said, it can be bad in ways, but in other ways it's good. Anyone else? Anyone else want to say out?
No, I'm alright.
So if you were to go under a promotion, who would you have as your promoter?
Okay.
Frank Warren, or what's his name, Eddie Hearns, because I think they're the only two apart from that guy from Saudi Arabia that I actually know.
Actually new.
No.
Um,
About anyway. I don't know them, but about them.
fair enough. What about you, Ben?
I think a good promoter, obviously he's not in the boxing industry, but he is in the UFC industry, is Dana White. He's great. And I know this is off topic, and I know I shouldn't be talking. Are you allowed to talk about it?
You can talk
Yeah,
about
yeah, okay. Well, yeah, Dana White, he's a great guy. And,
He's also bald.
yeah,
If you haven't
he's-
noticed.
But if I was to go with anyone under the boxing, it would have to be Eddie Hearn,
Come on.
because he's just a funny guy, isn't he?
Yeah, man. I could agree. I'd go with Matchroom Eddie Hearn. I think he looks after his fighters very well. The pay there is good, and he's willing to put together the big fights. A lot of promoters aren't. Eddie Hearn is, and from what I've seen, he seems to be a very good person as well. He's a funny guy, like you said,
Yeah.
and honestly, he's just my favourite promoter out of the bunch. I'd go under him. I mean, he's promoted big guys like Anthony Joshua, who gets the best pay in the sport, some of the best promotion of the sport. He talks about that way too much, to be fair. And he's now got Jaron Ennis. He's trying to get Ben Whitaker. He's had a lot of big fighters under his name, and does a very good job of it. Matchroom Eddie Hearn.
I will say one more thing about it's a bit off topic, but I really like what they did with that 5v5. I hope that they do more of that.
Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn. Yeah, because they were clashing for so long, which is why you couldn't get big fights between the organisations, promotions, sorry, because they couldn't agree on things with pay and they had personal issues, and it was all a load of palaver that just went down, and they couldn't really put things together. But as soon as they put that stuff beside, they had a lot of fun doing it, and they made a very good event. You got Deontay Wilder, Riley Zhang.
He was practicing that spin for months.
Certainly doing that on pads, yeah. You had Nick Ball fighting Raymond Ford. There was a lot of big fights on that card, and it's a good night, and they've said they're willing to do it again. But then there is the dark side promotions. You've got Influencer Boxing. You've got your Jake Pauls, your KSIs, your Logan Pauls, your Tommy Furies to a degree. What are your opinions on that?
Well, I think it's more like with like Misfits, KSI's organisation with boxing. I think it's trying to make it so like say, do you know how like back in the day you'd have like diss tracks and that stuff like that?
Yeah.
Instead of having beef and just doing a song about it, they can actually step in the ring.
Yeah, that's great.
Because
it's good entertainment.
Yeah, if you're being realistic, you're not gonna. Without Misfits, I don't think there would be barely any YouTube fights like with actual like YouTubers. Because half these YouTubers don't know how to fight. So I think I like how he's giving them the opportunity to like actually settle the beef.
To be fair, I've got to disagree with you there.
Yeah, because I disagree with you as well, but it is good entertainment.
Yeah.
So before Misfits, we still had influencer fights.
Yeah.
KSI was fighting, Logan Paul was fighting, Jake Paul was fighting, Deji was fighting. You had some of the FaZe lot fighting.
That was under DAZN as well, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Well, the Logan Paul fight.
And they had amateur fights too. No, Misfits was under DAZN.
Is it?
Yeah.
No, because I remember like watching the fight. It was like DAZN at the top.
Still Misfits. It just had DAZN on.
Oh, is it?
DAZN post and stuff. Because that's what it streamed on. But I can't say I like Misfits. They charge way too much. I remember I've watched two events actually on Misfits, and the last one that I've watched, I'll never watch one again, was KSI Tommy Fury.
Oh yeah.
And we sat and watched the whole. It was so expensive.
I didn't have to pay for that one. I just watched it on a Fire Stick.
Yeah, well we paid for it, and we had to sit down and watch the whole card, and it was absolutely. It was funny. It was entertainment. Like it was. Do you know what I mean? You get your money's worth because they're so bad. No offense, but there's just my days. But that whole card, none of them know what they're doing. And to be fair, it is dangerous influence boxing.
One person who I will say, I think Deji, he's getting loads better.
Well, there are a few that are actually decent. Yeah. You've got Dean the Great. You had an Nathan Gibb. FaZe Jarvis is good. He's part of Kermel Moulton. So there are a few that are decent, and I do think it's a good way to settle things in the ring. But rather than making a whole massive thing out of it, acting like the way Jake Paul and KSI promote themselves, acting like they're better than Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, but that's how they get the money. That's how they get paid. That's how they bring the check home. That's great.
They do it because
it's for themselves. You know what I mean? It's not for anyone else.
They say all this stuff just so that people watch it, just to try and see them get knocked out.
There are other ways around it though. If you look at it, they already had mad amounts of fame, and they still could have generated that without bringing other people's names into it and doesn't like some of them, like Jake Paul for example, he generally takes himself seriously.
Yeah,
fighting
he must fight Canelo.
Yeah, I know, and he's serious about it, and not about fighting like. You know what I mean? He thinks it's a massive legacy fighting Mike Tyson. Is it heck? But I'm not the biggest fan of it all because they could still fight on an undercard or something.
Yeah.
They don't need to make a whole massive event out of it and put shame on the sport because people who don't usually watch boxing and then watching it and thinking that's what boxing is.
Yeah.
So And I think that's where you get a lot of people coming in the gyms now and thinking like that they could just like beat half the fighters in the gym, which is absolutely
Yeah.
stupid.
You can tell the difference, can't you? Because as you said about Kamel Moten and Jarvis, when they sparred, you could tell like Kamel was a proper boxer and like Jarvis was just an influencer.
But you got to think though, it's with boxing, it's not just that they are trying to learn it.
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
that it's just the people that take it more seriously are at the top.
Yeah.
They've had their experience. They've had the great coaches. Not to say that they don't, because the influencers have the money to get the great coaches. We've saw it before.
Yeah.
We saw Jake Paul. Who did he have? He had that big fella. I don't know what his name is.
You had Shane Mosley. He was a boxer.
Yeah, and you've had KSI, that Vidal
KSI,
Riley.
Vidal, right? Yeah, exactly. It's great, but I'm not. I don't think it's I don't think it's bad what they're doing. I think it's good what they're doing, because it's a way to get money. It's a way to get people thinking. It's a way to get people into the sport as well. It opens people's minds up. So
It definitely has its benefits, but I think some of them kind of ridicule the sport with it because they take themselves so seriously, thinking like they're better, they're saying other people's names. Like I said earlier, some people don't know about the sport. I think it's also quite dangerous with some of them, because some of them have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're throwing loads of illegal shots, and it's like Canelo's said it best. Like, one of them's going to get killed. It's not football. You can't really play around in boxing.
Yeah.
But that's what makes the money. Is when the influencers enrage the people at home that are watching it, thinking, oh yeah, he's going to get into the ring with Mike Tyson. He's going to get hurt and all this. But come on, we all know Jake Paul's going to win.
Yeah.
He's got youth on his side. He's 30 years younger. Or
I
whatever.
think Jake's getting dropped a few times. At least once or twice, Jake's getting dropped in that fight.
That first round, that's where Mike Tyson has to do it, because his stamina. He's he don't really have it now anymore.
I reckon, like Mike. I think a doctor, would tell him that it's not good for him. Like halfway through,
He's been told already not to do it, not to take the fight.
Mm.
What Jake does do well is he's very good at playing the villain in press conferences and that.
Yeah.
But it's just, I know he generates outrage with it, and he does it very well in press conferences. But it's the fact that he actually does take himself seriously with some of the things he says, and when he's mentioning names like Muhammad Ali and things like that, he didn't do that just to get a name behind himself. He's said that because he actually believes that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's quite it's quite upsetting to see as well if he said that, because that's kind of a mockery of the sport as well.
Yeah.
He's one of the greatest fighters.
Yeah.
And he's obviously saying that on him. He's putting dirt on his name. It's not very good.
Yep.
That's the thing though, Jake isn't really bothered about getting dirt on his name.
I know.
He's just bothered about getting views, subscribers,
that's
stuff
why
like
Disney
that.
he plays
Channel.
the role that he does.
Yeah.
And it's weird, whenever the fights are coming up and you see the comparisons of what the other guy was doing when he was 15 and what Jake was doing when he was 15.
Yeah.
They do it with every single fighter, I swear. Ryan Garcia, I will say, he promotes himself very well. He did it for the Haney fight.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah,
that was amazing.
he got everyone involved.
That was amazing.
I couldn't tell if he was being serious or not.
Parts of it were serious, I think, but I
Yeah.
also think because some of it he still stands on.
Yeah.
But then most of it was a bit of an act.
Yeah.
And he did so good promoting himself for that fight, making everyone believe that he's going to lose. He must have earned so much money, from bets and that on the side.
Yeah, the odds would have just been ridiculous against him.
Yeah, well they were.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it was 1 to so much stupid.
Betting on yourself as well on that.
Yeah.
You're allowed to do that, or is there some law which says, no, you're not allowed to do it?
You're allowed to do it, it's just a lot of people don't respect it.
Yeah.
Which is why you don't really see it very often.
Yeah, there was a footballer that did it, and he's been banned for 10 years.
Has he?
Yeah.
Crazy.
I know.
In a sense, Ryan Garcia is an influencer boxer. If you think about it, he founded a lot of his stuff on social media.
Yeah.
Things like that, YouTube. What was it at the time? Musical.ly.
Yeah.
What's that?
We had it. Yeah, we had it before TikTok.
Literally is TikTok.
Never had
And
it.
then they changed it to Musically from TikTok.
Yeah. All his social media pages and that. And look at how good of a boxer he is. He's probably got the best left hook currently in boxing. Very, very fast, very, very flashy, very good boxer. And I quite like Ryan Garcia as a fighter.
Yeah.
I'd like to see him get a bit heavier though.
He's put on the weight.
I'd like to see him v Tank in a rematch at, say,
I want to
a
see
higher
that.
weight.
I want to see that at
Higher
140, 145.
Yeah.
I mean, with no rematch clause. No rehydration clause. Because there's always going to be that question now about that fight of, well, if Ryan weren't so dehydrated for the fight, because if you look at him compared to Tank, because Tank was able to rehydrate for the fight, Ryan wasn't. And you look at Ryan in the fight, he looks so skinny.
Yeah, he posted on his Instagram about him when he fought Devin Haney with him when he fought Tank, and he looked like a ghost when he fought Tank compared to what he looked like when he fought Haney.
Yeah. Press conferences. What are your thoughts on them? The way they're conducted and the way fighters go about it.
Yeah.
Bring them an example if you want, Ben.
What's like, you sometimes see them being put in a box where there's a glass.
Oh right,
That
Tommy
is-
Fury.
that is-
That was a joke.
That's just, you're watching it and you're cringing out.
It's just sad.
Come on, you're kicking glass. What are you doing?
Yeah.
It's not going to do anything.
Yeah, it was funny because I think it was
it's
John Fury.
embarrassing.
Yeah,
He
John Fury.
just went up there and just started hitting like the glass.
Just embarrassing.
John Fury's done some stupid things though. I mean,
He's funny but he's stupid.
look at what he did to the build of the U6 fight, where he
he headbutted some like.
someone in U16 that was chanting for U6. He saw that disrespect, so we went and headbutted him.
Apparently, like someone from U16 said something to him, but it was way bigger than John. But he decided to go for the one that was littler than him.
But no, I think press conferences can be good and bad.
Mm.
I quite enjoy them. I love
yeah.
seeing the interaction between the fighters before the fight. You get a bit of like backstory to it and stuff, and it gives you an insight of how the fights are going to be on the night as well.
Yeah.
Because if someone's like very confident in themselves, they're probably going to do very well in the fight.
Yeah, it's almost like you can tell out of the fighters at the press conference who's going to win.
Yeah.
Because you can tell it by the face, you can tell by the words.
Yeah.
You know.
I love
How they react.
Exactly.
face to faces.
Face off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
face to faces. Yeah.
Okay.
Like where they're both just in a room, sat on a table across from each other.
Yeah, that's great. That.
You do that in amateur. Oh wait, no, never mind. I was on about face off before a fight.
Mm.
But yeah, don't they only do one of those? Like they only do one like face to face.
Adrian.
I'd like to see more.
Depends how much money there is.
I think
Yeah.
Adrian and Gary did too.
Yeah.
It depends on the fight and how much hype is around it. And
Yeah.
Money.
Yeah.
Money.
Money.
They are good to see. 'Cause you can see a lot more insight because it's just two people. It's not like the whole camp in the room. There's no crowd or anything. It's just them two and someone else.
Half
sat
the
in a
time,
room.
I've seen like half the time they get along. Like they don't really argue in the face to face.
Because fighters, most of the time, the beef's all staged. It's for
Yeah,
the money,
yeah.
for the hype.
Like, did you see Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney's face to face? They was both laughing and like chatting about like the past because they was friends, weren't they?
Yeah. Well, they weren't friends, but I know what you mean.
Yeah. Well, they was.
I think with the face to face with Ngannou and Joshua,
Yeah.
that was during it. You could see that Anthony Joshua was a little bit scared because obviously Ngannou has one of the strongest punches, but you could see a little bit that he was a
bit off.
He weren't,
Yeah, a little bit shaky.
He weren't confident in himself.
I think
And he had Mike Tyson behind him, which that is just a game changer.
that's Ngannou.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. You know, that would scare me as well.
I think the whole thing with that was, Ngannou was an MMA guy. He didn't have much boxing experience,
Yeah.
and he'd gone in and fought the guy that AJ's been trying to fight for years. It's the guy that's supposed to beat AJ, and in many people's eyes won the fight. He dropped him and did very well. So I think AJ was kind of thinking, like, well, if I lose this fight now, then my legacy's ruined, my reputation's done. Because it's what nearly happened to Fury, and Fury didn't even lose the fight. So there's that, but then AJ's gone in and it was one of the best performances he's had.
Yeah.
Smashed him.
That's what I mean. You know, you never have a boxer going into UFC and gonna win a UFC fight, and it's the same as a UFC fighter, an MMA fighter going into boxing. It's not gonna work.
Yeah.
You know.
And then another thing about press conferences. What was I saying now? You can see a lot more into the fighters, and it's like a mind game in itself, because people use it to get into each other's heads, and they play in the words and what they say. And what I don't like is when they bring up really personal things. That's a bit much, because well, I mean, sometimes it's not. Sometimes, like, if it's a really heated thing, yeah. But when you've got no prior thing, like, to it, and they're bringing in, like, dead family members and things like that, it's a bit
It's
crossing the boundary.
It's like with the KSI and Joe Wello. It was KSI was bringing up things about Joe Wello, about, you know, his mental health and all that, and the depression and pills and all that type of stuff. And it's like, yeah, I agree with you. I think that's crossing the line, because they were mates before it.
Yeah.
And now you're saying stuff which is just, you know, it's across the line. But I know it's for the money and all that. But you could see in Joe Weller's face that that did touch him. That you know, it did hurt him.
Because I understand you going to those lengths when it's an actual, like, grudge match, but when they're just doing it for promotion, there's really no need. Anyone?
No.
He's behind us.
Someone was knocking on the wall behind us as well. But no, there's really no need to bring some of it up when, like, it's just for the promotion. There's an exception when it's an actual grudge match, and then that's when you really get the eyes on it, because those are the real entertaining fights, when people are really getting into each other's heads and they're really, like, they've got something going on with each other. Not intimate. Anyone else have anything to say before we wrap it up?
No more questions? No? Any more? Is that it?
Not that I can remember.
No?
That's why I'm asking, does anyone want to say it?
Nope. I'm alright. I'm good.
Well, let's have a good session.
Yeah, well, this was BoxCast, presented to you by Warrington Youth Zone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.